Everybody, how's it going? I wanted to play a little bit of Chroma with you all, so that's what we're doing today. Now, I want to show off this Maul deck that I've been working on. I have been playing a variety of strange decks, and I thought it would be fun to kind of take you through them a little bit. A lot of players, when they start out, they start playing with the starter decks, and of course, that's what they afford, nothing wrong with that. But I would like to encourage you all to try out some of the different heroes in the game, because there are other heroes than the starter heroes, and they are quite fun to play. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at Maul. Let me show off what the list is first. So we're going to go through this really quickly. First, we need to talk about Maul, of course. Maul's primary ability, give target allied companion +1 attack. This isn't that crazy. This is not that interesting. What is interesting is this. Secondary, enter the story. Now, this is a very brief description that is not very complete, you might say. But the reason for that is because it's very difficult to describe this in a brief way. What this does is it allows Maul to become a companion. You can actually put Maul down in the story as a companion and then fight with him. Now, what's really important about that is that when Maul is a companion, he actually retains any buffs you give him permanently. So you can really build a very strong companion that can fight for you as you go through the game. And that's exactly what this deck is aiming to do. The ultimate, here we've got all allied companions fight their opposing companions. If they don't have an opposing companion, they fight a random opposing adjacent companion instead. This is something that is kind of more used for a little bit of a late game finisher. We don't have to worry so much about that right now. What we need to worry about right now is our buffs. Now, you may notice that Maul is a hero with only red and blue mana. And if we look at my mana curve, we go 2 red, then a blue, then we go all the way up to 7 red, and then finally another blue at 8. Now, why do I play a card like Mutation or the Knife-Made Vice or a Minor Disagreement? These are very distinctly not red cards. That is true. That's because this deck is actually kind of trying to dip a little bit into green to buff up Maul with some very powerful effects. We can use Mutation to give Maul Warded, we can use Knife-Made Vice to give Maul a double attack, and we can use a Minor Disagreement to give Maul Overwhelm, which are very, very powerful effects that we want to have on him. We are using blue mostly to enable that, so we play 3 Benefactors and we play 3 Moments Between to generate chromatic mana. And the rest of this is just kind of like a rally package so we can maintain some momentum. So we are mostly using red as kind of our onboard presence and then blue to enable some green support for Maul. It's a bit strange, but it's actually surprisingly effective. So I'm looking forward to playing it a little bit. Now, I'm uploading this video to both my private YouTube channel and then also the Chroma YouTube channel. If you're watching this on the Chroma YouTube channel, hello, I'll be uploading stuff every once in a while. In case you somehow don't know who I am, this is my game. I made this. Not on my own, of course. I have a pretty significant team behind me. Well, we're not that many people, but they are significant to me. They matter. But still, I have a team behind me that is working with me on this. But of course, in the end, this is still my project, right? It's what I started this, and I'm very happy with where we are today. So yeah, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, then there's a link in the description to the Chroma YouTube channel. I'm not always going to upload these videos also to my private channel just because, Anyway, first, let's have a look at this hand of cards. We got Flashcast Knuckle Duster, which is a great buff to put on Maul. We have the Moments Between, which we can potentially use a Numinary. You know what? I'm going to go with this. Mostly because we're playing against the Pride Monger. Pride Monger tends to be a little slower because she is forced to play less companions. She can't just flood the board endlessly. In case you don't know what Pride Monger does, she has the secondary ability here that says you may only have 3 companions in the story at once. Your companions have +1/+1. This +1/+1 buff is very significant. But it also means you're limited in how many things you can actually have on the board, and as such, Pride Monger isn't usually just spamming the board with everything she got, right? Anyway, there's a pretty big benefactor right away. That's fine. We're going to go into this with more. So this is what it looks like. You can see now we are, we have turned around. Our opponent can still attack us. They can attack us in the back. But we have Maul in the story. After we wait a turn, just a normal summoning sickness, Maul can actually attack. One of the problems with this, of course, is that Maul is also susceptible to anything that another companion might be, making our life just a tad bit more difficult. Oh, we just got an interesting, very powerful card that we need to think about. So this right here is the Solar Witness. Dawn, and at the start of your turn, if I'm 1 page removed from exactly 1 allied enchantment, and that is my closest enchantment, I gain +3/+2 and deal 4 damage to my opposing page. So the important thing here is that this is something that allows you to put out a big, scary threat, and we want that. So let's maybe go ahead and play the moments between here. This just kind of slows down our opponent a bit, which we're always happy about, but we're probably gonna be taking a bit of damage here. So yeah, anyway, moments between, great card. It's an enchantment. Your opponent can't draw more than 1 card each turn. We're using this as more of a secondary effect, but honestly, against a lot of decks, that's actually really useful. You know, they want to draw cards, they want to kind of take it slow. Moments between says, nah, not right now, not today. Very nice effect. The secondary effect, the moments between, develops after its span decreases, is something that we're looking to use here though, right? That's where we can get even more value. So this is what we have right now. We're going into Act 2. We have 6 mana available, 7 if we use this. And now we have to ask ourselves, well, how do we want to tackle this? I think we're probably going to go ahead and activate this right now. Then we use the Solar Witness, which, by the way, this says 1 page removed from exactly 1 allied enchantment. What that means is that there needs to be an empty space, right? So if I play this here, I wouldn't get the trigger, but if I play it here, I do. So let me go ahead and play the Solar Witness, and let me actually make sure I have all of the right mana queued. Very good. Play the Solar Witness. We get the buff. We shoot. We have a 5/6 on the board. Now, I play Solar Witness in this deck because it's another really big threat that needs to be dealt with. And what we're kind of trying to do here in general is we want to create this really big, scary Maul that is strong enough to kind of carry the game on his own back. But the problem with that, of course, is if all we've got is this one Maul, our opponent can deal with it pretty easily. They just have to kill Maul. And if Maul does get removed from the story, you don't instantly lose the game, but you can't resummon him again immediately. He goes on a bit of a cooldown, which isn't ideal for us because we tend to spend a lot of resources buffing up Maul. So if he leaves the story, kind of sucks. Let me see what happens here. Okay, that's 1 bag of crowns. Okay, just a casual buff. But here's the important thing. Right now, this Solar Witness represents a really, really significant threat that kind of needs to be dealt with. And if our opponent doesn't deal with it, then, the Solar Witness will just continue growing. And our Maul will then also be buffed up by our other stuff. So you can see here, yeah, perfect. This is fine. Yeah, we're taking a bit of damage. Don't worry about it. It's gonna happen. You're gonna take a bit of damage with this deck. It's more about, yes, perfect. This is very, very good for us. So, looking at our opponent's hand, 6 cards in her hand, we can do something really degenerate right now. I was originally planning on buffing Maul at this point, but we just drew the Monomaniac. This is kind of a really... Okay, this is a bit of a mean combo. Maybe don't do this too often to your opponent. Do not do this to your friends, mostly. Unless you really want your friends to be mad at you, then do this. So I'm going to play the Inexoron, which is a golem. If I now play the Monomaniac, Monomaniac discards your hand and then draws 4 cards. If you control the golem, your opponent does the same. So I have a golem in play. So both of us will discard our hand and then draw 4 cards. But there's a small issue here for our opponent. I'm sure you might already have noticed it. Before we do that though, let me go ahead and make sure that we play out our hand as best as we can, because we will be getting rid of it anyway. And alright then, so Monomaniac comes down, everything gets discarded, we draw ourselves some cards, and the moments between blocks our opponent from drawing 4. And there we go. Yes. That is not unusual to see. So this is kind of like another thing you can do with this deck. It's honestly, it's more of a softer theme. We don't actually have that much there to enable that combo. And most of the time, we just use Maul, we use the Monomaniac to refill our hand, right? But you could see right there that occasionally you get the setup, and when you do, oh, it is so juicy. I just don't think it's worth building the entire deck around that setup because it is a little bit unreliable, right? There isn't necessarily a guarantee that you're going to get it every time. Since it's, you know, a combo of 3 different cards, and ideally they are cards you want to kind of play to build momentum, right? Alright, we're playing against Nail, who's got 1300 MMR. That is actually the highest MMR I have seen so far. So that is going to be interesting. We've got 2 Inexorans, 2 Luminaries. This is way too slow. We cannot keep this. Much better. Much, much, much better. So let me go ahead and get this Paragon Recruit. How do you counter the moments between cards? Well, any sort of enchantment removal will do. Also, just kind of wait it out is often fine. But honestly speaking, it's the kind of card where it's just like, I don't know, it's not actually that powerful unless you get like a crazy combo with it, right? Please don't take this as like please don't look at this and then be like, oh my god, that card seems crazy strong. It is strong, for sure, but we did get very lucky right there. Alright, you definitely can't do that reliably. On top of that, our opponent wasn't really doing anything. That's always important to keep in mind, right? Like, you can do whatever you want if your opponent just doesn't do anything. Alright then. So, we are going up against the Dragon Beetle here. Dragon Beetle, big and scary. We want to do something about it. We could play the moments between right now, but it's not fantastic. I think we're going to play Mournful Tutelage. It is worse against Tani because Tani has this ability which deals 1 damage to an opposing page and 1 other random opposing page. But importantly, this can hit enchantments and reduce their span instead. So it's a really good ability for managing enchantments, and Tani is actually one of the best heroes if it comes to fighting enchantments. Which also means that we're probably not going to get as much value out of the moments between here. For now, I think we do want to get rid of this Dragon Beetle if we can. So I'm going to play the Mournful Tutelage. We can still get 2 uses out of this. Tani might play Awe, but I think this is more of a tempo deck. You wouldn't play Dragon Beetle in a deck that you play Awe. Awe is one of the kind of biggest problems with playing Maul, because it really like shrinks them and you take a lot of damage. So we want to avoid that. Don't worry, I will explain what all does in a second. First, we need to figure out this turn. I think right now what we're going to do is we're just going to sacrifice the Paragon Recruit. I honestly don't think it's going to be the most valuable card here. So we're going to buff up Maul, and then we're going to just get these 2 in here and get that nice little trade. So anyway, what was I saying? Yes, so Awe is a card. It's a 5-mana devotion spell that is pretty simple. All it does is it turns all companions into 1/1s. That in of itself wouldn't be a big problem for most characters, but it is a big problem for Maul, because Maul is in the story. Now, Maul will have both his attack and his health reduced. The way this works is that when Maul's health is set to a value like it would be for other companions, he instead takes that amount of damage, right? So when Awe would try to... Oh, that's not good. Ooh, okay, we're looking a little rough. Alright, Maul got bounced into our hand. We're not so happy about that. I think we'll just slam the Solar Witness. That was actually bad positioning. Should have played him on the left probably, but that's okay. It's not that big a deal. Alright, we've got another threat down. So, what was I saying? So when Maul's HP would be shrunk to 1, instead he takes damage equal to his health minus... Like, equal to his health minus 1, right? So that he would have 1 HP remaining. And usually that gets blocked by a barrier. So you tend to just kind of drop to your next barrier. But it is still really scary because it is a lot of damage, right? Or can do like 15 damage against Maul sometimes. And then secondly, it can actually really significantly reduce his damage output. And that is almost a bigger deal. You need your damage output as Maul. Alright. Nice, we get the Solar Witness. Still Still looking strong, still looking good in the story here. So our opponent is looking to resurrect a dragon beetle, it seems. See, this is why this would have been better positioned over here. Because now if I trade, the dragon beetle will resurrect in the very left page. And then I can't kill it with the Solar Witness trigger here. We do not want to attack the hero directly because we would just be wasting a lot of damage. So we definitely are looking to trade here. The question just is, what else do we do? I think it's probably best if we just try and establish a bit of a board. So we will play the Paragon Recruit here. And then make sure that we queue our mana correctly. And play this Frontline Overseer. Probably around here. Although I think that I actually played the Paragon Recruit in a bad spot. And then we will go ahead and buff this guy up to have a little bit more health. And now we can play the Flashcast Knuckle Duster to give another +1/+1. I'm not sure if that's needed. We will just trade right now. The Dragon Beetle can't attack anyway, so we don't need to stress too much about it. Does Tani get to choose which card you shuffle away? So we have already seen that our hand has been messed with quite a bit. This is Tani's secondary ability. Shuffle a random card from your hand into your deck and then draw a card. Your opponent does the same. You cannot control which card goes away. Not for yourself and also not for your opponent. It is still a bit annoying because it just kind of constantly disrupts whatever your opponent has planned. So, for example, I did have a plan kind of in mind with going for the Moments Between with maybe a Knife Made Wise, but that didn't end up coming through. And I was kind of hoping to maybe buff up Maul in some sort of fun way, but that didn't end up coming through. Honestly, just kind of having a bit of a hard time against Tani right now. But that's okay. We can maybe see if we can make something else work here. Our deck in particular actually requires a little bit of thinking ahead, which makes this a rough matchup right now. Oh, this is difficult. We have 2 Knife Made Wise. I mean, it's a good card, but we just don't have anything to get value out of it right now. So, I think for now we're going to play our Maul back into the story. We can... we probably need to trade here, right? I don't think I can afford to leave this 9/8 in the game. So let's get rid of this. It sucks a little bit, but in the end, we can't afford to fight against that. And then we want to play this Flashcast Knuckle Duster. We're going to apply that to Maul right now, because it is one of those effects that is just absolutely tremendously powerful on Maul. And then I will buff this guy and trade here. Well, yes, that does leave my Frontline Overseer a little exposed. The important thing is that the Frontline Overseer has 2 HP, so Tani can't just primary it down. Tani's probably going to use the secondary, and I really hope it doesn't hit the Monomaniac. We have 2 cards that we are happy to get rid of, but if we lose the Monomaniac, we'll be in trouble. Yeah, it's... Tani is all about disruption. It sounds like I'm talking a lot about Tani right now. I like Tani. I'm not gonna lie, you know? Like, I love all the heroes, of course. They're all my babies, right? I designed every single one of them. But Tani is just one that I'm particularly fond of for some reason. And I couldn't even tell you why. Oh, perfect. Okay, very good. Now, this couldn't have gone better, actually. How much mana do we have available? Well, not quite that much, but it should be fine. So we play the Benefactor, which gives us a bag of crowns, which we can use to buff up our Maul. So Maul now gains plating, which is very good, and also can attack twice. I will play the Monomaniac, which shuffles things back into our deck, and not shuffles things back, but we just kind of draw some cards. We get a Flashcast Knuckle Duster. Yeah, nothing that gets me super excited if I'm completely honest. It might just be best to start going face here. And by start going face, I mean we trade once, we trade another time, and then we start going here. Now, let me actually point something out really quick. You may notice that Maul currently has 1 plating down here. This is a little bit of a bug right there, which is kind of just a strange interaction between Maul and the Knife Made Wise. Don't worry about it. We will fix it as soon as possible. In the end, all this results in is Maul having 1 less plating than he should have, but in the end, it's not that big of a deal. Anyhow. let's go into this next turn. So this is where our opponent not having actually killed Maul is really gonna start hurting. Okay, very good. Oh, this is actually just fantastic. This couldn't be better. So what are we going to do here? We have how much mana available? Let me go ahead and just go in here and queue autofit up. Very good. We have 10 mana right now. And we have 5, 6, 9 mana worth of cards we want to play. We can fit in the Benefactor if we want. So I guess we might as well, right? So we play the Benefactor here. We want to play this Flash Cast. Oh my god, I screwed up. No. No, I'm so bad. Oh, no. Okay. That was actually a misplay from my side. Now you might be like, wait, what just happened? I was planning to use the Jade Pit Horror to put that down in front of this Will of the Woods, which would have destroyed the Will of the Woods. That would have been nice. It would have been really good for us. But I played the Benefactor in the page instead, which now means I can't play the Jade Pit Horror there, which leaves me a little bit less efficient because the rest of my turn was planned like this. Let me show you. I will play the Flashcast Knuckle Duster. Then I will play the Frontline Overseer. This buffs everything up, makes it nice and powerful. And then I could have used this Monomaniac to trade here, leave this guy alive, attack with Maul into this, which cleaves everything down, which is very nice. And then we can attack with Maul, the enemy hero. And then this guy also attacks the enemy hero. Sadly, we are going to have to do a less efficient trade right now because of my misplay. Right, that's just how it goes sometimes. The game is a little bit tricky and you need to be aware of your options. And right there, I made a mistake. But that's fine. We're going to go ahead and destroy that with our big toad, the Jade Pit Horror. Very powerful thing. Also sort of thematic, you know, Maul being a character from the Jade Pit Horror being obviously another character from the Jade Pit. It kind of fits together, doesn't it? Ideally, what we want on Maul as our final buff is some sort of overwhelm. There are two ways to get it, which kind of like shows you how important I think having overwhelm is. I think overwhelm is actually absolutely critical to your success with this type of deck. This game we managed to get a bunch of buffs anyway, so that's good, but overwhelm really goes a long way. So we have the Luminary Incandescent, and we also play a Minor Disagreement, both of which can get us there. Right now, we're not going to need either though. Usually in Chroma, of course, you go into Act 3. Now, Act 3, Tani will throw everything back into our hand. That's his ultimate, right? It returns everything into both players' hands. Now, when Maul leaves your story, he becomes your hero again. Meaning, if he gets returned to hand, he just disappears. We saw that earlier with Prey. Right? Prey doesn't destroy, but it just returns it to hand, which in the case of Maul is kind of the same thing. Luckily, we can just bypass this right now. We're going to go ahead and give Maul a little bit more of a buff. To be honest, it's not exactly needed because we will just attack here and then attack once more with Maul and twice. There we go. Very good. Give me that juicy MMR. Isn't that nice? And I think that concludes our little video here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to give Maul a try. I'm going to include my deck list in the description. Please experiment with it a bit. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any decks you would like me to experiment with a little bit, or, you know, like maybe you have a deck that you would like me to try, just let me know about it and I will give it a shot. All right, I'll see you guys around.